Well, we've got Tim Mahoney on the show with us today. Welcome him to the podcast. Tim is a documentary filmmaker who has made quite a few documentaries, very cool stuff. Runs the website called patternsofevidence.com, and you should definitely go check that out. He's got a new movie coming out that's Patterns of Evidence, The Israel Dilemma. And this is talking about, well, I'll tell you what, Tim, why don't you tell us what it's talking about?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chuck. Yeah, this film is a continuation of the investigation that I started back in 2002, which is looking for evidence of God acting in history. And this particular investigation was really prompted by what happened last fall when Israel was attacked. And then you started to see college campuses across the nation, protesting the nation of Israel. And this film isn't political, but I wanted to basically say, well, who are these people they call, the Israelis or Israel? And I knew from my own investigation about the Bible that there was a history, there was a beginning of this nation. And so this film actually goes back to the book of Genesis. And we look and see, well, where did they come from? Where did these people come from? And what is at the root, potentially, of strife that we have today?
How did you get into doing this? How long have you been a documentary filmmaker?
I've been making documentaries for about 30 years. This particular series, Patterns, I was just trying to help somebody. I was just trying to be a good Samaritan, and somebody was making a film about searching for the Red Sea crossing back in, the late 90s. And I got hooked on that, the investigation, searching for, let's say, chariot wheels on the bottom of the Red Sea from Pharaoh's army and encrusted in coral. That was the adventure. And what ended up happening was that I went in 2002, right after 9/11, and started to investigate the story of the Exodus. Could we find evidence of the Israelites in Egypt? And when I got there, I was told that there wasn't any evidence. And I went home and had a crisis of faith. And that's how it all began. But thankfully, I didn't stop there. And 12 years later, after meeting a number of great Egyptologists and archaeologists, we found a pattern of evidence. And Chuck, the reason why a pattern is important is it's the scientific approach. So each one of our Patterns of Evidence films takes the Bible and looks for certain key events. And that's what we've done in this film as well. We said, how would we investigate these people that are called the nation of Israel and that are Jewish? How do we investigate that? And in this particular case, we looked at the covenant that God made with the people of Israel at Mount Sinai. And that's what the investigation is looking for, evidence of that in history.
Well, I'd like to show our viewers the trailer for this new movie that's coming out. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll show it to them right now.
But your name shall be Abraham.
I also antagonized a lot of people by recognizing the state of Israel as soon as it was formed.
Where's your title to the land? He said, he held up the Bible and he said, here's the title. You don't lose your right to your home because somebody kicked you out.
The Torah came before the land. It's not by accident.
Patterns of Evidence Foundation presents
The covenants are what holds the storyline together.
a film that asks if God made a covenant with the children of Israel.
God's covenants are everlasting. There will be other things disappearing from the natural cosmos before I break my covenant. I will never break my covenant.
The God of Israel cares about all human beings, and therefore in the caring for Israel, he's expressing his love and concern for all humanity.
What evidence remains today?
Well, David is part of the history of early Israel, which has been maligned for some time because there was not solid archaeological evidence. That's all changed in the last decade.
Debate rages over the truth of biblical prophecy.
So they collect all these traditions, stories, myths, theological stories, and so on. We are dealing with the traditions.
The scriptures predict events hundreds, sometimes thousands of years off into the future, and they do so with a reliability that is breathtaking.
What will the pattern reveal?
If they break the covenant,
Yes.
there are consequences.
That's right. Before you get out of the Pentateuch, the whole basic plot line is there.
Patterns of Evidence, the Israel Dilemma.
That was amazing, and I'm sure a lot of people will want to go see that. How can they see the movie? It looks like it's only airing certain days in theaters, right?
Right. It's coming out like right now, November 13th, Wednesday, November 14th, Thursday, and November 17th, a Sunday. And those are the only 3 days. It's an event cinema film. And if people go to patternsofevidence.com, they can see a trailer again, and they can look up they can get tickets there. Hit the ticket button. It'll tell you where the theaters are by putting your zip code in.
So I was looking through some of your other trailers as well from some of your other movies, and one of the things that has struck me about all of them is just how well produced they are. I mean, this is very high production value stuff, not like the stuff I crank out. I mean, you've got computer-aided graphics and all sorts of things. Tell me about the work that goes into these.
Right. Well, I actually wanted to make films in the beginning, but I wasn't able to, and I ended up going into advertising. And so I kind of honed my skills on making high quality 30-second commercials and a lot of high-end, infomercials. And I think there's a bit of the cinematography that's a part of, who I am. And then I started getting into special effects and animations. And in this particular case, we're going to bring back the temple. We're bringing back the characters in the Bible. In this film, The Israel Dilemma, you're going to be able to see King Hezekiah and King Sennacherib. These are two opposing foreign kings that came, and basically God, I think, used them in some ways because of judgment in the nation of Israel. And we're bringing back the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and King Hezekiah. And so through the use of, special effects and actors and green screen and things like that, we're able to recreate those settings to help us. Because right now, it's not a great time to go to Israel to start filming. It's at least for me, it wasn't. I couldn't afford to go do that. So by using, film techniques and things like that, we were able to do a lot of the recreations.
Now, I noticed as I watched through that trailer that you've got some pretty high-powered interviews as well. When you look at what's happening in Israel today with the war and everything like that, this is a tough question. How do you see that playing into biblical prophecy, biblical history, and that sort of thing?
Well, that's a great question. And I think it's a question that a lot of people are asking is there any connection? Now, I think what's going to happen, just so your audience knows, is that what I'm seeing is a pattern. Let me share with you what that pattern is. The Bible says that the nation of Israel will have a kingdom, but if they break God's commandments, in fact, well, I should start right here. It says that there are going to be blessings if they obey God, and there are curses if they disobey God. And Moses prophesies in advance. That's why this film is called Ancient Prophecies. He prophesies in advance. He says, you're going to have a kingdom. But what's going to happen is you're going to break God's covenant. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to have a kingdom. That's the first thing we're looking for. The second is that if you break the covenant, which you will, that kingdom is going to be destroyed. Third, you're going to be scattered. Fourth, you're going to be persecuted. And fifth, God's going to be merciful, and then sometime in the future, he's going to bring a remnant of you back to the land. And they call it promised land. And so this film looks at the story from Genesis all the way to the beginning, from creation all the way through to Noah and the ark and the flood, and then to the Tower of Babel, and then to a man named Abraham. So this film is a I don't think it's ever been done before, Chuck, where we take an entire section of the Bible and we explain the biblical story like we have, and how God has made this covenant with this nation. So this particular 5-set pattern that we're looking for, I believe, is a rule. It's a law. And that's what I'm investigating. But it happens twice. This first film, called Ancient Prophecies, investigates the first time it happened. The second time it happens is when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem. And Jesus, prophesied about this, I believe. And then we have this long 2,000-year period until 1948, when the nation comes back. So a lot of people today, I think, might be confused, tired, even thinking about, well, how could we even know? Well, these films are to help give you a biblical foundation, and we're going to look at different points of view. And as we do, it'll help you have a clear understanding as to how to think about the nation of Israel, because I don't think they're going to be leaving the news anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it is certainly important for people to have that kind of ammunition today. What kind of ammunition does this give people when they go see this movie in their discussions with people at work or people at their university or something like that?
I think that, we have a Bible study too, by the way. So there's a Bible study that we have that you can print out if you go to the website, Patterns of Evidence, and there's lots of scriptural references there. One thing that I think that this film is showing is that God is a God who tells us in advance. There's prophecies. The Lord communicates through his prophets about things happening. And what you're going to see is that that once he tells you that they're going to happen, we're going to see that they actually did happen. So one of the things I think you could come away from with this film is that God keeps his word, number one. Number two, that he has a relationship with these people. Now, the question some people would say today, I even had a conversation with a scholar. He said, I don't believe there's any, particular relationship today. Well, we're going to investigate that as we go forward. But he has a relationship in this film. You're going to see that God has made a covenant with these people. And we're going to show how God keeps that covenant. And you're going to learn more about that. Mm-hmm. And so I think the other part of it is that this film, I think, is an inspiration to people who are wondering, where is God? Can I trust him? Will he help me in my, unemployment, or in my sickness, or in my broken family? And that's the reason I think, Chuck, that I made these films. I was asked one time, why are you so adamant about doing this? I can't explain it, other than the fact that my mother, growing up in a broken home, put so much confidence in the God of the Bible. Somewhere along the line, I got involved with showing, is there any evidence for this? I didn't really decide to do this. I just got involved with it. And that's how this came about. So for people that want to see this movie, I think it'll be an encouragement to them that God is a God who's faithful to keep his word.
That's fantastic. So what do people do if they're not going to be able to make it to the theater and see this in the theater? Where can they go to find it?
Well, in the future, they can go to patternsofevidence.com, and then we'll be talking about it. But we always have to have a blackout period for a little while after the fact, because we really do want to encourage people to go to the theater. And some people would say, well, it costs more money and I don't really want to go out or whatever. But you know what? Why movies in theaters are important is because it allows our faith to be in the public. And it allows us to bring people who might not go to church or to a Bible study. A lot of friends of mine would never go with me to the church or to a Bible study, but they would go with me to a movie theater in a public setting. And so take this opportunity to take a movie like this and bring some friends, bring that guy at work or that relative, that prodigal son of yours or whoever it might be, and say, hey, there's a movie about archaeology in the Bible. I think it's fascinating. And it's going to open doors to talk further about the Bible and God. And really, this film, I think, testifies that God keeps his word.
Well, Tim, thank you very much for coming on with us, and I really appreciate you giving us all this great information. Folks, I highly recommend that you go see this movie in the theaters. It's called The Israel Dilemma, and it's part of Patterns of Evidence. So you can go to patternsofevidence.com and see it. And so Well, I'm going to end it right here for the YouTube part of the broadcast, but we've got some extra special content for those of you who are supporters over at chuckholton.com. Tim's going to tell us a little bit more about some of his other movies and about what he's doing next. And it's an absolute amazing movie that he's working on that's going to be out next year, and you're not going to want to miss a preview of that. So come on over to chuckholton.com, become a supporter, and you can watch the rest of this video over there. Okay, take care.